No, I don't think anybody changed positions on that. We're just learning where everybody's coming from.
All right, Damon Hewitt is the president of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law, and LaTosha Brown is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Welcome to you both. Damon, let me start with you. You were in this meeting with Senator Manchin today. Does it appear that he's not convinced? Is he any more likely to support your cause, to support the For the People Act, than he was when he wrote that op-ed?
Well, thanks, Victor. Look, that's for Senator Manchin to answer. It's difficult to predict. I would say it's important to have the relationship and to speak with clarity and to speak beyond the partisan divide. You know, we have in this country a history of bipartisanship when it comes to protecting voting rights, certainly since the Civil Rights Movement. And so suddenly all of that seems to have changed. It cannot be that stopping partisan attacks on the vote is somehow a partisan activity. That's a false equivalence. And we're trying to help Senator Manchin see behind that. And I think it's going to be a process that will not happen overnight if it happens at all.
So let's stay on that, because Senator Manchin says that he is not going to support partisan voting reform legislation. But his definition of partisan has really nothing to do with the content of the bill, that it advantages one party or another. It's that another party won't vote for it. So it's partisan simply by Republicans rejecting that. How do you convince someone to support it if his decision is not based on what the bill does? It's based on if Republicans are voting for it. How do you change that mind?
Well, all we can do, Victor, is deal with truth and facts. We can look at the provisions of the For the People Act and look at how many of them mirror some things that are already in place, at least to some degree, in West Virginia, some of which came about under Senator Manchin's watch when he was Secretary of State. So we can just deal with the truth and the facts, focus on the policy and less on the politics.
LaTosha, let me come to you and the White House's effort here. Vice President Kamala Harris, as we've discussed before, has been tasked with leading the effort to protect voting rights. Her office has reached out to your group. Tell me about those conversations, what you'll be doing with the office.
You know, I think that they've been reaching out to a lot of organizations. I think what we will do is continue to do the work that we're doing on the ground, which is to mobilize voters. You know, we think that this is the most critical issue that is going to undermine and has been attempted to undermine democracy in this country, which is why we've actually called to have a call to action. We're doing a national voting rights tour where we're actually doing a freedom ride on June 19th through June 26th, because that is the week that we're supposed to have the vote. And we have to really show that the public is actually saying we don't want voter suppression. You know, even in Senator Manchin's own district, what makes this so interesting to me is that he would say that he has to represent the people of West Virginia. But what's interesting is in Newsroom, it talks about a survey that was just taken. Almost 70% of the people in his district in West Virginia actually support the For the People Act. Bill that is being partisan, then that's exactly why he should support For the People Act. That literally it takes some of the partisanship, it holds accountable. It continues to actually provide to keep those parties from actually using this process just for partisan issues. And so there's a disconnect, there's a misalignment in what he's saying. That in his own district, in his own state, the majority of people, including Republican voters, are actually in support of the For the People Act.
The senator is now focused on another piece of legislation, the John Lewis legislation that actually gives Congress some purview over what was taken out of the Voting Rights Act when the Shelby decision came out during the Obama administration. Do you think that has a path forward, if not the For the People Act, LaTosha?
I do. I do think that there's a path forward, but I think we also have to recognize that we need both of them. You know, one of them actually helps us that once the act, those bills are enacted, there is some protection, but that we actually need accountability. We need more accountability. Here we are now, where we actually have people who are participating in the process who are now being punished for participating. That's not democratic. That's actually undermining our fundamental rights as voters in this country. And so what we need is we need For the People Act to actually provide, to give some mechanism to protect democracy in a way that literally holds these parties accountable, to prevent them from being able to do some of the things that they're doing on the state level, and create at least a federal standard so that we can have a voting system, at least an electoral system, that people have more fair and free access to the ballot.
Damon, let me wrap here with you. You say that your effort is to offer information, but you need to change minds to get the numbers to get the vote, to pass this legislation and send it to the president. And Mondaire Jones, New York congressman, he tweeted, Manchin's op-ed might as well be titled, "Why I'll Vote to Preserve Jim Crow." Does this help your effort to change minds, to convince the senator?
Well, look, everyone has their own angle. The prevailing wisdom on Senator Manchin is that he doesn't respond to outside pressure. That's why we've taken multiple lines of, I won't say attack, multiple lines of communication. And right here, we want him to understand that we appreciate his support for the John Lewis Voting Rights Restoration Act. That is bread and butter civil rights law. We need that to fix what was undone with the Voting Rights Act. But if we only get one of these pieces of legislation, we've done half or less than half the job. These pieces of legislation are mutually reinforcing, and we think we can break through and make sure that Senator Manchin and others realize that you can't support one and not support the other and think that somehow we are safe.
All right, Damon Hewitt, LaTosha Brown, always good to have you both. Thank you.
Thank you.